broadcast on my main page, but unfortunately, Facebook is being very difficult. So, with that said, I am back in the hot seat and I am very happy to be back with my broadcast. So, with that said, I have two amazing guests and I can't wait to bring them on. We have a lot in common. So, let's get this show started. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to The Dead That Follows. This is a brand new broadcast, and thank you for tuning in and supporting. I have two lovely guests tonight. They are into the paranormal. We are all in the same state, which is quite coincidence, and I can't wait to have them on. Before I do, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on and all other stuff. So I was going to have my broadcast on my other page, but unfortunately, because if you don't have it on a business page, the platform does not allow you to, it doesn't allow you to connect. So unfortunately, but I said, why not let me have my grand opening on my main page since I have so many on you on here. So with that said, please be gentle, please enjoy, please feel free to ask as much questions as possible. So I want to introduce you to Ryan and Dennis. And we have so much to talk about between the paranormal and something special behind that. So let's welcome them in. Hey guys.
Hello.
So you are on my main page. So
oh my
you have
goodness.
a very yes. So so who do I want to start with? Ryan. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Jeez, what is there to say? Huh.
He
Well,
has a majestic beard.
look at this.
I can use
Look
one of
at
those right about
this.
now.
Yes. I'm working on my Santa Claus look for the
Yeah,
summertime.
I see that.
God. Well, I mean, I am the host of the freaking awesome paranormal show with my lovely co-host Rhonda Harris. We are on every Tuesday night from 9 to 10
Mhm.
Eastern time or whenever you decide to stop talking. Started in the paranormal 2012 with All Seeing Paranormal Society with Howie Ed Odell.
Mhm.
And then I joined or helped found CROP, Commonwealth Researchers of the Paranormal, with Dennis Eslock. And we started investigating the cabin on 360 back in 2016. So I've been doing this since 2012.
Wow, that's a long time. Dennis, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I don't have nearly as majestic a beard as Ryan does. So I've been dabbling in the paranormal since I was 7. So I have, pushing 4 decades.
Wow.
But heavily into it for the past at least 25 years. Recently took ownership of the business known as the Cabin on 360, a paranormal location right outside
Mhm.
Richmond. Sits on battlefields from Civil War. Um, like Ryan said, I founded Commonwealth Researchers of the Paranormal. The idea was we were going to help homeowners and locations. Historic locations are all desperately seeking funding We thought it would be a great idea if we could get into locations, if we could help them at the same time. So we teamed up initially. I think the first place that we actually did to help them was Henricus Historical Park.
Mm-hmm.
We did roughly, I don't know, 10, 12 investigations for them, all as fundraisers for the park. And then a few years ago, we got invited out to another place called Pamplin Historical Park. And we've been doing 2 and 3 investigations a year for them for the past, 5 years, I think.
Okay.
Just fundraisers for the park, try to keep history alive. These are both living historic museums, and tourism and history travel just isn't as prevalent as it used to be. So they're all struggling for funding. So
Yeah.
we were able to do 2 things that we love to do. Ryan and I both love to give back to the community and the field, and we were able to get access to a couple of great locations and bring in people that generally wouldn't have that access.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why we started our public investigations at the cabin on 360. We spent a good year investigating out there, bringing different teams in before we actually started bringing the actual public in. And we were thinking, like, what can we do? Because when we started investigating out there, we basically was like our clubhouse. We just go there, investigate. Didn't have to worry about paying bills, or maybe give my dad some money for the electricity, or maybe pay for to get the lawn mowed or something like that.
Right.
When we did these investigations, it was all like profit. We're like, okay, what can we do so it doesn't look like we're taking money from people? We want to give back to the community. So we would have these investigations, but we'd give all the money to charity, or we have a little girl who was battling cancer, so we give money to her. We do toy drives at Christmas time, which we still do. But giving back to the community, that's really why we started having these public investigations at the cabin, after we realized that, hey, this place really is haunted, and we have other teams that have come out to back up what we're saying before we actually open it up to the public. We have to make sure that it's not just us; as every other people are experiencing the same stuff we are. Then we're like, okay, we need to open it up and be like, let's give back to the community, and to educate the public on the paranormal. And that's what we're trying to do with the cabin on 360 days. What Dennis is trying to do with what he's doing out there. He's really brought the cabin to where it's where it needs to be. For paranormal investigations. There's always work that needs to be done, but he's done such an amazing job of like fixing it up and bringing it to like a comfortable place to come out and investigate. And we're just trying to get word out about it, so we have more teams come in and experience what we've experienced out there.
Right. So before we get into the cabin 360, I really want to know, the best question to ask is, what got you guys into the paranormal in the first place?
Who wants to answer that one first? Look at Dennis go first on this one.
Whoever wants to go first, go right ahead, because I'm sure it's a list.
All right, so since Ryan wants to check me under the bus, I'll go first.
All right.
What got me into the paranormal? When I was 7 years old, my brother was 4 years older than me, and we had bunk beds. I slept top bunk, my brother slept bottom bunk. And I distinctly remember one night, long after lights out, my grandfather was standing beside my bunk bed, woke me up, told me goodbye, he loved me, and he'd see me later. I remember asking, well, I didn't even know you guys came up, but okay, I'll see you in the morning. They lived like 2.5 hours away. But he was just gone, like he wasn't there.
Right.
A little while later, Mom came in, turned on the bedroom light, told my brother and I, you need to get your butts up. you got to get up and get dressed. And I asked, is this because Granddaddy left? I didn't even know they were coming. When did they get here? And
Right.
she looked at me real puzzled and goes, what are you talking about? And I said, well, Granddaddy was here just a little while ago, woke me up, told me goodbye. He loved me and he'd see me later. And Mom was like, you just need to get your ass out of bed. Granddaddy had a massive heart attack a couple hours
Oh,
earlier and passed away.
I'm very sorry.
So that was, when I was 7. And then somewhere around 10, 11 years old, I had 2 cousins that are right in my age bracket. One's 3 months older than me, one's 2 years older. The 3 of us somewhere had heard if you put a voice recorder in a cemetery, an old cassette deck or, recorder in the cemetery, you could hear the voices of the dead. And we're like, man, that would be cool. So we had my big, shoulder cassette player. They lived by a very large old cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And we snuck out. I was spending the weekend at their house. We snuck out one night and went over and put my big boom box in the cemetery up on a headstone, hit record, and we went a couple of 100 feet away. Well, we had captured somebody whistling a tune. And I mean, it's a long piece of whistling. Well, we knew nobody was around, but we're like, that is so cool. So we asked their dad, who was a musician, if he recognized the tune. And he said, yeah, it's from like the 1940s. Who was whistling that? And then we got ourselves in trouble when we told him that we had snuck out and gone to the cemetery.
Oh my
But
God.
so that was my introduction to what we now call an EVP session when I was probably 10, 11 years old.
Right.
And we had done it, we did it several times after that because it was fascinating to us and we always seemed to capture something. Then when I was 16, my brother chose to take his own life. Well, I was on the way to the corner market. Now, bear in mind, totally different age, generation, and everything. At 16, I was allowed to smoke.
Okay.
But as I'm walking in the store to get a pack of cigarettes, if you have siblings or somebody that you've known most of your life, you're really close to, you know their energy when they walk up on you. You just know it's them.
Yeah.
And I felt my brother there. I heard his voice tell me, goodbye, brother. I love you. I'll always have your back. And I looked around. I literally thought my brother was there. That was right at noon. And 9 o'clock that night, the police department came, beat on the door to let us know that he had been found that afternoon. He'd hanged himself.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
That's 40, right at 40 years ago. I'm all
Wow.
right with it now. But yeah, it was kind of a shock to the core. But it always, it just re-triggered those thoughts of when this meat suit dies, what do we get to do? What can I do?
Right.
What do I look forward to? So it's kind of been like I traveled a lot for several years. I did hazardous waste cleanup. So I would be all over the country, and it was nothing for me to go just throw a voice recorder out and see what I captured. Some of the hotel rooms that I ended up staying in, or the little beside the highway motels, I would
Mm-hmm.
have to ask for a different room because things just were not right in that room. But it was, it's always been interesting to me. And it all boils down to, like I said, when this meat suit dies, where does this energy go?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's why I've been in it for so damn long.
Wow. Yeah, I could totally relate to what you have going on with a situation like that. So, but I'm very sorry with my condolences with what you had to go through. So,
I
but
appreciate it.
oh, you're welcome. But with your experience is, a lot of people experience these things and then they don't have any answers to them, and that's why we're in this field, to try to understand why are we feeling, why are we getting these messages, and we're still trying to find answers till this day. So but it's very interesting with your experiences. Ryan, what was your first paranormal experience?
My first paranormal experience was I just finished watching North and South with my dad. and I'd gone upstairs to go to bed. And so I went to bed, woke up, and I looked on my desk.
Mhm.
My desk is across. I'm laying. My bed's like facing this way, and my desk is across,
Right.
like, so I could see it from where I was laying. I looked up, and my desk was in front of the window, so it was like a must have been a full moon because the room was pretty lit up.
Mhm.
Looked on my desk, and I see these two little figures on my desk, and they're dancing. One was one had like a scabbard, like a Civil War
Mhm.
sword scabbard, and another one had like a hoop dress on, and they were sitting there. They were dancing about the size of what you would consider like a leprechaun or something like that.
Right.
And when I saw it, I was kind of like looked at it, and I'm like, "What in the world?" So, and then I rub my eyes, and I see that they're still there.
Mhm.
They're dancing, and I just closed my eyes and went back to sleep. Now, growing
Right.
up, I was deathly scared of ghosts and spirits, and just the unknown didn't just scared me because I liked I wanted to see what was in front of me, like the dark scared me, stuff like that. I
Right.
didn't like it. So when I saw that, it really surprised me that I felt so calm about it. And then growing a few years later, I would start watching the ghost shows on TV, and when I went to school, I had a few experiences in college that I couldn't explain, and yeah, and then a few years later, I joined with Howie and stuff.
That's awesome. So now that we got the paranormal experiences out of the way, I am dying to know what got you interest in the 360 cabin. What did it like? How did you come across, and why did you get the 360? Did it mean something to you? Were you drawn to it, or was this just something out of the blue? Why you purchased the 360 cabin?
Well, when I was a kid, my family owns the property, the
Okay.
360 cabin on 360, and the rancher. So it has always been a part of my family ever since I guess they purchased it. I can't purchased it. Thank you. Purchased it.
Okay.
Purchased it in like I think it was 79. My
I bought
grandfather
it in July of '78.
78. All right. So it's been in my family. And I
Stick
was
with bought. It's easier than purchased.
yeah. There you go. But they bought it. They bought it in 78, and I was born in 77. So it has been
Okay.
a part of my life my entire life. And
Yeah.
I have been there a few times when I was a kid with my dad. But so it's always been a part of my thing. So one day at the dinner table, he told me a story about one day in like the late 70s, he
Mhm.
had been called out to their big rancher because like I think we were talking about if anything cool had happened or anything had actually happened while at work.
Right.
And trying to think of I don't really know the genesis of the conversation, but he said that one day he had been called out to the brick rancher. My grandfather had sent out two workers to do some work behind the house, and they ended up finding a body in a refrigerator box.
What?
Yeah. And so they called him, and they call him, and he was the only one at the office at the time because it was still pretty early. And my
Right.
grandfather lives all the way in Caroline County, which is by Kings Dominion.
Mhm.
So, which is like 20 minutes outside of Richmond, for those if you don't know. So he was called. They called him in, and he had to meet the police officers at the house. And he said when he got there, the workers, who were very dark skinned African Americans, he said when he got there, they were white as ghosts, and they were like, okay, they were freaked out. He met the police officers, and he said he helped move the girl's body
Oh.
into the body bag.
Oh.
And he said it was one of those things where it's like you try to get that stuff out of your mind, and it took many years, probably in like the 90s when he told me the story. So, you know, I was maybe 15 or something like that. It wasn't like I was 5 and he was like, "Oh, let me tell you about the time I saw a dead body." You know, it was old enough to remember it, and it kind of just stuck with me. And when I joined All Seeing Paranormal Society, I told Howie about the cabin, and I'm like, "Look, I don't know if it's active or not, but we have this house. It was empty at the time. I was like, we could use the house as a practice place, you know, place to, recruit for new recruits, teach them how to investigate before I actually go on a real investigation."
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, "That sounds good." So and I had gone there before. I had done some work out there and never really had any problems. But I knew the story. So I'm like, all right, well, every time I would go over there, I'd be like, "Oh, please don't bother me. I know you're here, just to be on the safe side." Because, I didn't want anybody trying to like, mess with me while I'm doing the work I was trying to get done.
Yeah.
So we picked a day, and unfortunately the day that we had picked to go out there for the first time, I had a family dinner I had to go to. So I had to leave. So they had the investigation. I talked to Howie. I'm like, "So what happened?" And I was, they're going to be there all night. He was like, after 2 hours, I had to pull the team because of all the stuff that had happened to them. People were scratched. The medium started freaking out. There's a whole bunch of different stuff happened, and Howie's like, "I've got to, had to pull the team." He said for the team safety had to pull him out. Now I hadn't experienced any of that stuff yet.
Right.
So I'm just going by what he said. And, I believed him, but we didn't get to go back in because I think maybe another business had come in or something like that until about a year and a half later. I'd been hanging out with Dennis by the fire pit, drinking, just talking about, the paranormal. Like, "You've got to come to this cabin." I've, from what I understand, it's really, really active. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know, whatever." So finally I convinced him to come out to the cabin, because I think you were like, it's 2 houses in the middle off the Mechanicsville Turnpike. How active can it be?
Right. Yeah. Especially when it's laying off on a highway. Yeah.
And nobody's ever complained about paranormal activity out there. No.
Right.
Well, until you find out there actually was. People have been talking about it, but we get there and we walk into the Brick Rancher, and I'll let Dennis, fill you in what happens next.
Sure, take it away, Dennis.
So we cruise through the log cabin, and we're like, it's kind of cool. We can set up cameras and we can use it just because, a training base. That was all we were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then we walked into the Brick Rancher, and like I said, I've been doing this for pretty much my whole life. Medium, sensitive. And I made it 3 steps in the Brick Rancher, stopped dead in my tracks. I knew there was an energy there I did not like. The first thing I said to Ryan was, "Bro, there's something here that's not human and never has been. This place is effed up." And he's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "There's something not right."
Wow.
So we walk around upstairs and went down into the basement, and we're looking around. And we couldn't have been down there 5 minutes. And there was just this blood-curdling scream, female scream, that echoed through the house. And both of us turn and look at each other, and we're like, what the hell was that? We both run upstairs. We run outside, look all around. There is nothing. I'm thinking somebody just got murdered.
Wow.
Run back in the house, and
you
as
would
we're
think
standing,
so.
Yeah, I mean, it was that loud. And then as we run back into the house, we're like, man, what the heck? Dude, that actually echoed inside the house. That was inside, and there was nobody there.
So
then it became, we got to investigate.
It makes you think either we have impeccable timing and we just happen to be there at the right time where the scream happened, or that game happened because we were there and it wanted us to stay.
Right. It
Yeah,
was trying to get your attention, most
Yeah.
likely.
and I don't know which it was, but it damn sure got our attention. That
Yeah.
became the moment that, dude, we got to do this. We got to investigate here, and we got to see what's going on. So
Yeah.
we were able to investigate for what, year and a half, 2
Mhm.
years, and then a business came in.
Right.
Insurance agency. Now, we weren't paying a lease or anything on it. We were just able to use the property because Ryan's family owned it. It was
Mhm.
sitting vacant, and they had told us all along, if a business wants to lease it, you got to stay out. So Ryan's out there
Hey,
doing
brother,
some.
you're awfully scratchy. I don't know what's going on with your microphone.
I got
Is
a
it the
wild.
beard?
It was
Okay.
beard.
There it is. Okay.
Okay, I
We got
thought
that
I'm
straight.
like fixing my volume. I'm like,
I
something
was like,
going on. Maybe there's something interrupting that we don't know.
Well, I had a beard hair was wrapped into the mic.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And
your
you know what?
luxurious beard, your majestic beard.
Yes.
Hey, listen, let all the ghosts or whatever interrupt the show. That would be awesome, but you never know.
Well,
Right? So,
I mean,
Not
think
before.
about it. Think
that would
about
be
it. We're
awesome.
using the same technology we do for investigation. So
There
if
you
you
go.
got
I've got
guests in your
EVPs.
house, oh yeah,
I've got
Yeah,
EVPs on the show
no, I got
before.
them here too. So you'd be surprised what I have in my house.
well, I
That's
know I've got
another
at least a
topic.
couple here. But
Yeah.
yeah, it just became we're going to investigate. And of course, then when we lost access to the Brick Rancher for a business that came and signed a lease on it, then we're like, well, what the hell, man? We still got the log cabin. We can investigate there. And we discovered the log cabin's just as damned active as the Brick Rancher was.
Right.
So that started the search for history. Let's see what history has done to this land.
Yeah, it has to be something.
Yeah, and what we discovered was basically the beginning of the deadliest per capita battle of the entire Civil War started right on our land.
Wow.
The battles of Bethesda Church took place there. That was the lead up, and that was the entry point basically for Cold Harbor. Cold Harbor per capita was the deadliest battle of the entire Civil War. It
Wow.
exceeded an 80% death rate, and it sits 3 miles away from us. General Grant bivouacked either on or right close to our property. It's just the more we're researching, the more we discovered the brutality that took place on the land where we sit. Just the number of dead, we can account for 2,264 men killed, captured, wounded, or missing in action within 1 mile of our property.
Right.
And it's like that much you've got to leave energy behind. There has
Yeah,
to be
absolutely.
there has to be residual, and there has to be intelligent, because some of them died immediate. And
Yeah.
we've discovered all of the above.
Wow. Yeah, sometimes spirits don't really understand that they have passed, and when you when you die so quickly like that, and you don't have like a moment to think when you do pass away, they still feel like they're alive, and that's why sometimes spirits are trapped in housing and places like this, because they don't understand what's going on, and that's why sometimes these places are haunted the way they are.
Yeah, well, on that line, I mentioned Pamplin Historical Park. Our first visit down there, Ryan unfortunately had to work, so he wasn't able to join us that night. No, wait,
Right.
did you go?
I was there.
Yeah, that's right. You were investigating, and I went with our liaison, Chris Banchero, who's head of operations, and he took me on this huge tour. Probably 30,000 steps by the time I was done. I don't know how many miles we walked, but it was a shitload. But we're standing out at the breakthrough line. Now, Pamplin Park is 424 acres of battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best maintained earthworks in the northern hemisphere. But we're standing out at one point on the battlefield on their walkways. I started a voice recorder, and I simply said, "Gentlemen, do you know you're no longer soldiers? The war is over. You can go home."
Right.
And And what sounds like a young man standing right beside me on a Class A EVP says, "Are we dead?"
Wow.
It was one of those holy shit moments.
Well, if I
So
knew you had an EVP like that, I would have had you to show it on the broadcast. Maybe we'll have to do that next time to have whatever evidence and pictures you guys have from 360
oh,
Cabin. We'll have to have it on the next episode of the show.
there's a ton of that. So we've had dozens of teams come out and record and shoot videos and do their YouTubes and everything else. So if they do if your viewers and listeners simply do a search for the Cabin on 360 on YouTube, you'll find a ton of them.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 hours away from me. I went there once to investigate, and we'll get into that at the end of the show. I'll let you know what I experienced. I was out there with a team once, and it was interesting. So I was there like sitting at the table, and we all heard a woman's voice, the loudest thing we ever heard, and everybody heard it, and we were like, yeah, we weren't even there 10 minutes. It was already starting. I don't
Look,
even want to tell you what happened upstairs. So
I mean, I had a team tell me during the like I'm typically the one that gives the history and the tour and everything. That usually takes me an hour, maybe hour and a half, depends
right.
how many questions they have. I had a team that told me, dude, we've gotten more shit happen in just this than we've had happen in other locations overnight. And I
Wow.
went, it's kind of busy.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those places that we don't have the notoriety of, St. Albans or Trans-Allegheny. But I think our activity holds par with those.
Right. So, well, what I am dying to ask that I did when I was with the team at the time when I went. Now, there is more than just a cabin. What is the story behind the cabin with that forest with the path? Because I have felt some kind of presence out there that it was unbelievable. You could feel it the minute you went right in the middle of whatever that path is behind the cabin. Can you explain a little bit about that?
So the entire property is battlefields.
Right. Oh, there you go.
And
That explains a lot.
And there's a theory in the field that man's atrocity to man can rip a opening to the darker side.
Wow.
So if we want to look at atrocities that took place on or very close to our property, we can look at a story that I'm going to open up a web page and take my eyes off the screen real quick. But there is a web page that I found recently. Ryan had already shared with me the story, but
Mm-hmm.
I found the full story, and it's Southern Historical Society papers over at perseus.tufts.edu, and it tells the story of the Red Cap Boy.
Okay. Red cat boy.
Commanding officer their color bearer had been dropped. The commanding officer walks down the line trying to get somebody to volunteer to bear colors. And he says, I came upon a tall, lanky, and I don't remember the soldier's name off the top of my head, but he
Mm-hmm.
agreed, and he's quoted as saying, damn them all to hell. They've killed my brother. They may as well kill me too. So he
Right.
stands up holding colors. And it continues with, he was permitted to bear colors for an assured 20 minutes, perhaps out of respect for the fearlessness he showed. Then they trailed a big gun on him, and the last that could be seen of him is his arms flew in separate directions and his flesh was dashed in our faces, was his little red cap flipping through the air. They
Right.
trained a cannon on him from 20 yards out.
Wow.
That was during the Battle of Bethesda Church, on our land or just off of our land. So if you want to talk about, man's atrocities to man being able to rip an opening to the dark side, it's on that land.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I went back into that forest with the team, like we couldn't go no more because the energy was so thick and heavy that you could feel it. Like you don't even have to know that there's something negative in the woods. You could feel it. You could feel everything watching you with nothing there. And we actually had to turn around and come back because the energy was getting to be so intense that we were like, okay, I think it's time to go because we felt like we were disturbing it. We were not at the right place, the right time to, to do the investigation. So we didn't get a lot of activity with the equipment, and then we went back into the cabin. But yeah, the energy is very, very heavy in the woods. Not when you
More.
first start walking it,
Mhm.
but when you get right in, like further in, it's like really, really heavy.
And it's
Right.
more than just soldiers out there. There's children. We've heard children out there. We've heard women out there.
Wow.
So who knows what else has happened on that land? Like Dennis said, what has history done to the land? We know about the war, the battle.
Right.
We know about what happened to the brick rancher. Know what happened in the cabin. But there is so much more to that land than what we know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the European settlers were up into that area in about the 1630s.
Wow.
So we're able to go back nearly 400 years on that land, and we can account for some of the things that have taken place. The European settlers had a very common um, ideology. We're just going to take the land. You'll die if you fight for it. So the natives would just back off. The question comes in, what did they leave behind?
Right.
Native was very in tune with nature. Native was very in tune with earth. And Native was very in touch with spirit. So what did they leave behind? And
That's what we gotta find out.
that's been one of our questions all along. Like the first slogan that we started with it was, what has history done to the land? Because there's so much there. We know that, between the European settlers coming in 1630, we somewhere around that time
Mhm.
frame. We know the Revolutionary War marched right through there. We know Civil War was through there with several
Wow.
battles on that land. We know the murder in the brick rancher. We know of an attempt suicide in the log cabin. She told us about her near-death experience sitting in the log cabin after she slit her wrists. So we know of all these things that have taken place on that land.
Right. Yeah, well, that explains the young girl woman's disembodied voice that we heard that night. So that, because it just came out of nowhere. Like I don't know if that's what you guys heard. It didn't sound like a scream. It just sounded like, "Hey, I'm here" type thing, like trying to get her attention. And sure enough, she really did. So I
Was that in
wonder
the
if that's
rancher?
the girl that, huh?
Was that in the brick rancher that you heard that
Yeah, the
voice?
360 cabin. We were
Okay.
downstairs where the big table is, where that big room is,
Mhm.
and we just happened to hear it, and we were like, "All right." We weren't even getting started, and it was incredible. She was really that loud. So I wonder if that's the woman who slashed her wrist. I don't know if that's the same one or it could be a different one, but it was definitely a woman that we heard.
Well, the woman that slit her wrist survived.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but we do know of, during the Civil War, there was a home on that property that
Mhm.
looks like it sits kind of on the footprint of the log cabin partway over to the brick rancher, and that was Mr. and Mrs. Curry. Now,
Right.
they're mentioned in a lieutenant colonel's daily journal from the Via house that's a mile away that was a Union headquarters. But I can't find anything further on them. So that's another part of my search, and another rabbit hole that I've got to crawl down is what the hell happened to them.
Well, Well, don't crawl too far.
There are so many rabbit holes
I
with this
may just
property.
I may just be able to help you before you get really farther stuck in that rabbit hole. So we'll get to that after the show is over. So with the Cabin 360 and with all the experiences that you guys, you know, have with this place, it sounds really amazing. And Ryan, what was your first experience when you entered the Cabin 360?
Well, I mean, of course, we had that experience with Dennis and with the Scream.
Same.
You know, God, there. When we first started investigating out there, we would just get countless number of EVPs and just weird stuff that would happen. Like
Right.
one time, we went to the Brick Ranch. It was me, I think Carissa. What's her last name again? It was Fleck
Ryan?
then. Carissa
Oh.
Hartley. We went to the Brick Rancher and we closed the door and I went outside to get something and the door is locked, but the deadbolt was on. And I'm
Right.
like, who put the deadbolt on? I'm like, we're just here. No one's ever done that before. And nobody would admit to it. So apparently somebody turned the deadbolt, because it's one of the things that you have to turn, like, it's not one of those automatic things. You have to pull it shut and then turn it to turn the deadbolt on. So the deadbolt, would come on by itself. My most crazy story. I had gone out there with two friends, and there was. So we're in the log cabin, and with log cabins, there's these logs sticking out. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's these logs sticking out by the front door. Okay. I walk in and I put my keys on one of the logs.
Okay.
And below it is a rat, a fake rat, like a spirit.
Oh, I was gonna say what? Yeah. I don't remember rats when I was there.
It was a fake rat that someone had tied a red string on it. So it was set up so when someone used the bathroom, it'd pull it and it would hit them in the face. So we had taken the rat down and put it on one of the logs. So I go around and I'd done a live over there. We were investigating. I'd gone upstairs, did a few EVP sessions, and then we went out to the woods, do some more investigating. We get back. I'm going to the woods for an hour or so. I left my keys in the building, didn't take them with me. Left the keys in the building, and we're about to leave. Now, I had not touched my keys the whole time. They had set them down.
Right.
They were there the whole time. Didn't move them at all because I wasn't going to go anywhere. I go to leave, and we go to pick up my keys, and I look, and my keys are now tied to the rat. And I'm like, okay, which one of you guys tied the keys to the rat? And both of them looked at me like, what are you talking about? And they were like we didn't touch them. I'm like, dude, seriously? They were literally, I have a picture of on the cabin Facebook page, literally tied to the rat. Like, they still, to this day, I talked to my friend Michael White. He was there, and he was like, nope, it was not. None of us touched none of us touched the rat. So somehow my keys, they got moved down to the log below it and tied to the rat.
Wow. That is the most interesting thing of paranormal that I've heard in quite a while. I mean, they would have to take so much energy to just physically take the rope and tie the keys.
And it's one of those things crazy. Where it's like, okay, if it was a joke or something like that, they would have told me about it now, and they swear that they had nothing to do with it.
Wow. Too many to have like a hidden nanny cam or cameras hidden to where you could get the person to actually doing that. That would have been really neat.
That would definitely come in handy, but I mean, I gotta believe them.
Yeah, without a doubt. So there is Ryan, I'm looking at your feed right now, and Sorry, Anna, I cheated. I
you're
left
fine.
yours to go look at his. But CJ Momo Marie says, my favorite recording of 360 is the one they got on the spirit box. What did it say again, Ryan? It sounded like a priest speaking. It was like three sentences.
God. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. I'm sorry, I'm broadcasting on my Facebook Live as well, Anna.
No, you're fine. That's okay.
I tried to do it on mine and it locked up.
I have it somewhere actually.
More the merrier.
It was Daniel, DNM Paranormal, who caught that. But it was
yeah, I'll have to go back and
very
see.
Sound very like Southern preacher, you know, that kind of like damnation type of like sound.
Yeah.
And
nobody heard nothing. Nobody heard rattling keys or nothing. It just was that quiet.
I mean, yeah. I mean, but I mean, unless it probably happened while we were in the woods.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
You know, but yeah, I mean, if they can manipulate the keys to get tied to the rat, they can probably make it so we can't hear it.
Wow. That's. I mean, I've heard some crazy paranormal stuff. I have seen crazy paranormal stuff, but for something like that to happen, man, no. Because you would think, like, if a ghost can take all that energy, tie keys to the rope, what else can they do? Right? I mean, makes you wonder, like, is this like an entity that is really, really evil and is finally showing that its true colors, what it could do, and maybe tying the keys to a rope is maybe giving you a message, say, hey, listen, if you're not careful with my cabin, look what I could do, type thing. You know, maybe it was trying to give you guys a message by doing that. Did you guys ever think about it that way?
I mean, when it happened, you know, it's like you said, it just goes to show what kind of crazy stuff that it can do. I think it was trying to get our attention for sure. And maybe it's trying to play tricks on us, you know. But you know,
it's had a blast playing with us. I
can see that.
Like, prime example, Lyle Lotz from Twisted Paranormal Society. They were filming an episode for the Twisted Realm, and we're all sitting around in the main room of the log cabin, just kind of hanging out. Now, we had a doll given to us. We've affectionately nicknamed her now Caitlin. Mm-hmm. She was leaned forward against the front window, and for us, it was kind of fun. We had one arm propped up, and she's leaned against the window. Scared the hell out of the lawn care guy. We had neighbors or citizens drive by, and they would call and complain that there's a child in the window. But anyway, this night we're all sitting there, and Lyle's sitting like a foot and a half behind Caitlin, propped up in the window. And all of a sudden, she goes from this forward leaning angle against the window, topples back, bounces off his lap. Not off his shoes, off his lap. Like she literally would have had to come up and back. He looks at her, looks at us, looks back at her, looks back at us, and goes, "You all fucking saw that, right?" And we're like, "Huh?" "Yes, we did." He shoved his chair back about 3 feet, and he goes, "She can stay right where she's at. We're good."
Yeah, no, thank you.
I mean, and this is one of those, what do you think Caitlin is, Ryan? 2.5 feet tall?
Yeah.
This isn't like a little tiny doll. This thing's 2.5 feet tall. And it looked like she just picked up and toppled backwards. So I don't know if that was, I don't know. I mean, Caitlin has been on camera to be seen moving, but Ryan, CJ says something, I think it was like, "And I will be there with you," wasn't it? Something along that line.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have it on the TikTok, on the cabin TikTok TikTok page, and I sent some pictures to Anna of the rat.
Yeah, I
and
got 'em.
of where you could see in the pictures where I'd done a live feed. I took like a still frame of the live feed so you could see the mouse, the rat, and the keys were not on the same thing. And so there's actual proof that they weren't on the same level, and then somehow they got tied together.
So with the pictures that you sent me, if you want, I can post them on my page if that's what you want me to do. I can show
that's fine. People who want to see what was going on. But yeah, but that one EVP, man, the one that CJ was talking about was because it did sound like a preacher. Like, I wish I could figure out how to share it. But yeah, it was pretty intense. If you want
to like send that EVP to me and I can download it on my computer and then I'll repost it on my page, and that will probably work that way. So, because if you guys, whatever evidence that you guys have, save it, and then for the next episode that I'll have you guys come back, we can do an episode full of pictures and EVPs and evidence and get it out there and show everybody what you captured.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I think
absolutely.
Find that very interesting because we've gotten some very interesting stuff out on that property.
Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
Ryan, do you still have I'm Naked?
I do.
What?
Anna's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about, Dennis?
Oh no, Ryan can share this one with you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we had done an EVP session upstairs in the Pink Pearl, which was the room that people it was used as a brothel back in the late 90s,
like
early 90s, late 80s, something
late 80s.
Yeah, they'd use that as a brothel. And I was upstairs, and you got EVP of a woman saying, "I'm naked," but it was so like nonchalant, like,
"Oh yeah, I'm naked."
Yeah,
like,
why not?
I know.
What the hell?
I mean, a lot of good that does me, but you know, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Ooh,
EVP.
Ghost boobies.
I swear.
I haven't put this show rated R or something.
You know, I swear. One point, I have it somewhere. I have an EVP that says "in the butt."
Mm-hmm.
What?
In the butt.
Did they even know what that is? Like back in the day? I mean, I guess.
I'm sure they knew what it was. You know, they got freaky back then.
Well, look. So I asked the question during an EVP session. Do you know what a Cleveland steamer is?
You serious?
Yes. The response we got was, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah.
If they know what a Cleveland steamer is, they know what in the butt meant.
Oh my god! I'm not ready for this conversation. I shouldn't put like
It's 9:55. The kids are in bed.
That's okay. Yeah. You know what?
By
all means,
it's true, man.
This show.
The more upstairs in the log cabin, the back room up there, the raunchier the questions, the more stuff you get. The more active it gets.
Right? I guess they get kind of lonely.
Yeah,
or maybe that's what they last remembered.
And that's weird because it's not like anybody died in the house.
Right.
It's sexual
so where is
energy.
This all coming from? You know,
it's all sexual energy. It is, and it's intelligent. So it's not like we're dealing with residual stuff because they're responding to us. So I don't know if there is like a sign that say, you know, for a good time, come to the cabin on 360 or what. But
pink light is on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad I'm aware of this now because next time when I do get to go there, I hope very soon, that I make sure I'll put like 2 hoodies on and make sure that I'm fully covered going into this thing. Thank you for the heads up.
You know, you can't be too careful.
Yeah,
you never know who's going to be there and who's going to want to, have some fun,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, keep in mind, you've got a couple of thousand soldiers that, died on that property. They would love to have an attractive female there. We had one of our young ladies in a group a few years back got her ass grabbed. We were in the way back portion of the woods, and I probably had 6 females with me that night doing a public investigation. We're in the way back, and I've got us all standing in a big circle.
Right.
And I'm running EVPs and I'm getting nothing, but we can hear walking all around us. We had heard signal whistles. Finally, I said, all right, ladies, just turn your back to the center of the circle and watch outbound. See what you see. And I asked the question, what do you think of Abraham Lincoln? And there were 3 or 4 heavy footsteps. The 360 periscope lit halfway around. The rim pod went off, which were about 10 feet away from me. Then the girl that's behind me, probably 5 or 6 feet, jumps and hollers, what the hell? And something ran across the small of my back with enough force that when it caught my hip, it kicked my hip to the side. So I immediately pulled up a flashlight. I'm looking around. I want to see what just happened. When everything settled down, I asked the girl that, all right, what'd you jump for? She's like, well, straight up, man, I heard the footsteps and those 2 things went off. And then like a full hand grabbed the back of my thigh right under my ass. She's like, I thought it was you. And I'm like, was not me. She's like, I was ready to light you up. And I went, wasn't me. And then she gets this puzzled look and she goes, I've investigated with you a lot, man. I've never seen you jump. What made you jump? So I explained to her that, something brushed across the small of my back strong enough that when it ran into my weapon, it kicked my hip to the side because I carry sidearm. Right. And then the woman that was off to my right goes, okay, that makes sense. In a perfect line, you could trace from the footsteps, the 2 pieces of gear, her, me, and then an icy cold blast pushed through the last guest that was off to my right. And she's like, so that makes perfect sense.
Wow.
But Jack, we'd love to have you come out.
Yeah.
Check out an investigation.
I would definitely want to come back. I only went there once, and the only thing that I experienced besides the feelings out in the woods was the room upstairs with the dolls. And it was just me and an investigator. It was just me and her. And we're just up there, looking around. And all of a sudden, one of the dolls actually fell over, like it was physically pushed over. And we were like, yep, see you later. I don't do doll stuff. Keep it away from me.
So the room with all the dolls is the Pink Pearl.
Yeah, and it just happened to fall over. Maybe because there was 2 women in the room that it was attracted to, and that's maybe why the doll pushed over. But I didn't feel any like physical contact at the time I was there. So maybe if I go again, maybe it'll be different, because sometimes if you go with different people, different energies start to shift. So a lot of times they don't like certain people's energy, so they stay away from it. And I've had that happen so many times when it comes to paranormal investigating, and sometimes you won't get anything. It'll be dead silence. And but I've had a doll thing happen to me. So I don't know if you had it happen to you, or anybody that was in that room had a doll fall over.
I think Austin,
his backpack
forgot. Oh, yeah. And then I think it was the backpack. I think the doll fall over too. The backpack fell over, but it was in the same room.
Yeah, his backpack was sitting on a chair. I was just thinking about that. His backpack was sitting on the chair, didn't have much in it, but he said, I knew it was firmly in the chair, and all of a sudden it just got knocked off and toppled onto the floor. He's like, there's no way that it just gravity took it. It was sitting all the way back in the chair, and next thing you know, it's thumped onto the floor.
Yeah, that's what the doll did. Like somebody physically had to push it off.
We had a team drive down from New Hampshire. Now, this team had been investigating for a long time. It had been investigating for a while. And they rented the cabin out, their property out, for 2 days. They packed into like a Suburban, 9-hour drive, all the equipment kind of crammed into the Suburban. I had gone to the beach with the family, and so Dennis had given them the tour, and so he gave them the tour, and about an hour and a half after he had left, they called him up and said, "Look, we the keys are where we left them, where he told us to leave them. We're leaving because we weren't ready for this place."
Right.
Now, keep in mind this is towards the beginning of our letting teams come out to investigate, and when we were expecting something like that to happen, where this team who had been to all the big places like Waverly Hills,
That's on my
Trans-Allegheny.
bucket list. I haven't been
They've
there yet.
been to all these places, and they had never left early. This
Wow.
place, our location, made them leave.
Chased
like,
him off.
Yeah.
When he called me to tell me that the lights are off, the doors are locked, and we're headed home, I'm thinking, oh God, it's a family emergency. Is everybody okay? And he's like, oh, no. Everybody's fine. We just weren't ready for this shit. That was his words. And I
Yeah.
went, wait. What the hell could have gone off the rails so badly in an hour and a half that you're bugging
Yeah.
out? And he's like, I don't even know where to begin.
I mean, we lasted until I think about 3-4 o'clock in the morning. It we didn't get as much as activity like everyone else. Like I said, when spirits feel different types of energies, they tend to stay away sometimes. And the only activity that we got that was pretty decent was the living room where the fireplace is. We had a lot of equipment go off in there, a lot, and it was really really interesting.
Well, and the really cool part is, let's say, I don't know, tonight you go there and the living room in the log cabin, or the log cabin as a whole, is just
Mhm.
super active, but next door in the brick rancher is not quite as active.
Right. Why
And
is that?
the woods is nothing. Well, tomorrow night when you come back, the woods may be just off the rails active, but the
Yeah.
log cabin's quiet and the brick rancher is pretty calm.
Yeah.
It changes from night to night and time to time as to where the hotspot is. I mean, I've had countless people tell me, all right, tell us where the hotspots are. And I went, well, my best recommendation to tell you for hotspots are from the edge of the road to the back of the woods
Yeah.
and from
Pretty
that
much.
cornfield to that cornfield, because the whole damn
It's all a
place is a
hotspot.
hotspot. I mean,
Right.
Saturday night I had a couple that was Mark and Sandy Rodriguez were staying overnight at the property to watch the vendors' tents and everything, and they had their gear set up in a vendor's tent. Now, we rented big tents to put all the vendors in. So this thing is 800 square feet. It sat between the log cabin and the brick rancher. They sat up in there and investigated and said it was just off the chain active. Dead bell was going off. Tripwire was going off. K2 meter was pegging out. Just one thing after another, and that's just sitting in the
Wow.
damn yard. So
Well, yeah, like I said, like that those woods really does have an intense energy, and you can feel it when you go in there. And it feels like, when you're walking back, you can actually feel eyes watching you. You can feel like somebody is walking behind you, but there's nobody there. So there's definitely a lot more intense out in the woods than it is in the cabin. Unless, like you said, there'll be some nights where some active will be active and some nights won't. So maybe I got the night that wasn't really that active,
yeah,
unfortunately. So
yeah, you got one of the nights that the woods was the hot spot,
right.
and Sean over at Hill City Paranormal says the music box with the voice was very crazy the last night he was there.
Oh my God, that's creepy.
Now, CJ, I'm gonna talk about your comment. CJ says Paranormal Quest was there. It was quiet for them. Here's the funny thing. Paranormal Quest debunked a couple of things that should not have been debunked because they didn't go
Right.
They didn't go far enough into looking
The
at things.
ones. Right.
Well, one, he got lost in the woods towards the end of the episode, and he was only about 50 to 75 feet into the woods. How can you get lost? He looked up and said, "Oh, that's a different house. Where the hell am I? That's not the right place."
Well, they,
It is. He just got disoriented in a very brief distance into the woods, and it
wow.
does happen. But they had set a EMF indicator in the doorway for Melissa's bedroom. She's the young lady that was murdered. Well, this thing went off for a good solid 15 or 20 seconds, like something literally grabbed the antenna of it, like full pegged it. Well, they were in the middle of a Estes method, and he gets up in the middle of an Estes method and walks upstairs out of the basement and goes upstairs. Why? Who does that? He gets upstairs to see the device going off, and then the other one starts up the steps, and the well pump kicked on.
Right.
How many times have you ever seen that well pump kick on, Ryan?
Only when somebody uses the bathroom.
Yeah. In 10 years, I'll bet you I can count on one hand and have fingers left over how many times that well pump has kicked on.
Wow.
So then they're like, oh, well, there's got to be electrical nearby that's causing it. So they went back down into the basement. Now, the air handler for the heating and air system is on that side of the house. The well pump is on the complete opposite side of the house. And they saw the electrical cutoff box for the heating and air that I killed the main breaker to. So the heating and air had no power at all. But they debunked the meter going off because the well pump went off. And that box was mounted to the joist in the basement. Totally separate electrical issues, and that box had zero power to it. So there were things that they quote unquote debunked and said it was quiet. Plus, they were ready at the end of the night. They were ready to tear each other's heads off, which I find amusing because I gave them fair warning at the beginning of the night. Please pay attention to your personalities. Please pay attention to your own emotions. If you start getting upset, and my running joke when we do public groups is, you know each other better than we do. If you turn and look at your best friend and go, man, that dentist dude's kind of weird, and your best friend turns and looks at you and goes, I'll eat your soul. Get them out for a break.
Yeah, seriously.
Fresh air
time. Outside. I don't want to look at you right now. Get outside.
Yeah, because I think what's in the basement, honestly, there is a darker entity in the basement. I think it's an elemental, and I think it likes to play mental games. It plays mind games with people. We have had several seasoned investigators that Ryan and I have both watched just out of the blue flip script, and it's completely acting out of character for them. So I think whatever's in the basement, that's its game. It just likes to play with your mind. So I'm wondering if, when Paranormal Quest, when he got lost in the woods, or when he just randomly got up in the middle of a Estes session and starts walking upstairs, why? That's not a normal thing to do. So I'm wondering if they were being messed with and didn't even realize what was happening.
Yeah, sometimes the activity isn't like all in your face type of stuff, and doesn't really show up good on camera for YouTube video. But just
now, the other thing too, EVPs are extremely common in both the log cabin and the brick rancher, and they hardly did any EVP sessions. So it makes me wonder if there was something going on. I mean, one of my most I told you about the EVP on the battlefield down at Pamplin Park, but the one that I captured in the brick rancher, I had a public group in Melissa's bedroom. I'm leaned against the windowsill, and I simply asked the question, Melissa, are you with us, sweetheart? What sounds like a young female standing right beside me, plain as day. I'm with you.
Oh.
I mean, it sounded like a young female. And then Ryan, EVPs out there are frequent. and loud. Dylan, remember
Yeah.
that one?
Yeah, we did. We were in the woods. We did a EVP session in the way back, and a woman, it was me and a bunch of girls, and a lady asked, "What's your name?" And a voice came back, Dylan. And one time we were in the rancher, we were in Melissa's room, we had the SB7 going, and Dennis asked, Is there a name Randy significant?" And you hear little girl's voice, clear as day. He did it.
Wow. It's crazy when you get these EVPs like that, and they're so clear and they're so amazing to a point where it's like, wow, like it makes you think, and it's like, how can they do this, and how can they still be saying these things, and they must be using so much energy just to do something like this, and to talk right next to you. I'm actually having goosebumps right now just thinking about it.
I got one. We're doing another spirit box session, and it came through an old man saying my N word. but it didn't say N word. It's in the actual thing.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's
but it said it with the A, not the hard R.
Well, at least it was trying to be a little polite.
Yeah, it's clear. And like, I'm like, what in the world? Because you're not gonna hear that on the radio.
No.
Yeah, there's some crazy EVPs.
Yeah, I would say so. I would love for you guys to gather up those EVPs, and this way we could, share them and show everybody how amazing this place really is. Because it sounds like you guys get so much to where you could make a movie out of it, or a documentary.
I mean, there is so much on that land, and in fact, it is really affordable to come out and investigate the cabin. We don't charge that much to come out. We just need to trying to get the bills paid. The rent paid.
Yep, understandable.
We are,
I just
really want to keep this place open.
Power and the internet provided for, and keep the lease payment made until I can get enough history with financials to go to the business administration and buy the property.
Yeah, definitely. So, it is getting to be that crunch time. So I just want to share with you guys that we had 9 people viewing tonight, which is amazing. We still have 7 people watching, and and I want to give a shout out to the people who stopped in. We have Alan. He stopped in to say hello. We have Matt Santolo, which he is my amazing brother who is very supportive. So he stopped to say hello. And we have an amazing person who stopped in, Matthew, from Dark Echoes Paranormal. I'm happy he stopped in. And we also have Jack White. I know him, and I have helped him do some paranormal things to where he needed my help with my medium side of things. So he's got some interesting stuff. So he stopped in. So I just wanted to share with you guys that we did have people stopping in and had amazing people watching tonight. So do you guys have anything else that you want to share before we sign off this evening?
Let's see. The Cabin on 360, we're available for private investigations. I think Sunday through Friday, it's $400, right? 7 p.m. to 9 a.m. And then Saturday's $500. So again, we're not charging much to come out compared to other places. And this place really is an amazing location. A lot of people they kind of take it for granted. A few teams we've talked to have come out to investigate it, and they didn't really think it was going to be much of anything at all, and they leave and they call it their most favorite location, their most active location they've ever been to. So it's definitely an active location, and yeah, I mean, it's just a great place.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm really glad that I was able to get a taste of the experience of Cabin 360 when I was part with a team at the time. So, like I said, I will talk to you guys about that. Dennis, did you
Uh,
just send me something?
I did.
Okay, I saw my little chat pop up. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this?
Well,
um,
I can't get into the chat. I don't know why the hell it's not letting me do it off on the side of the
okay,
screen here. But what I just sent you is a link that. So I've started a GoFundMe page.
okay,
This is the first time I've ever done that. But for lack of better terms, we're coming to crunch time on being able to buy the land and buy the
great.
property and protect it. So with it being battlefield, I don't want to see it developed. I don't want to see a car wash there. I don't want to see a vape
No,
shop or a
absolutely not.
townhouse or any other bullshit. I want to see it preserved as a battlefield. So the last option to prevent it from being sold is to purchase it. And
Hmm.
that way we can protect it. So I started a GoFundMe to raise enough money to give deposit that I can buy the property. Now, every bank that I've talked to said we want at least 10 to 20% for a deposit. So that's all
Right.
I'm asking for is enough for a deposit. I'll take the rest and go in the hole for that. But I'm just asking for enough on the GoFundMe to get me a decent deposit that I can go to the
Okay.
banks and try to buy and secure it. After after we take ownership of the land or after I take ownership of the land, however, whatever it works out to be, my next thing is to put a um, trust on it. I'm going to put it in a land trust so it can
Okay.
never be developed. It will always be
Good.
battlefield. There's
Yeah.
not much battlefield left from the battles of Bethesda Church, period. And we've had numerous psychics and everything tell us that there are, potentially hundreds of dead on that property. I don't want to see them under a parking lot or some bullshit.
Mhm.
I want to
Yeah.
see them out
No,
there. At
definitely
some
not.
point in time, we'll erect a monument to those that fought and died for the cause. And it's Union, Confederate. Plus, there were civilians that were caught in the crossfire when they ran out to help the wounded on the battlefield. They
Wow.
got caught in the crossfire as well. So it's not just soldiers fighting for their country. It was civilians that were running out
Yeah.
onto the battlefield to help.
So what I could do is I have quite a few pages that what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the fundraising link and I'm going to share it out to this main page and I'm going to share it out to all my other pages and I'm going to see what I could do to help you fast to raise more money to help you guys out because I would love to help you guys out and help save the place and do whatever it takes to save the property.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, any help we can get, I've spoken to the American Battlefield Trust, and they were excited about the concept of being able to get a hold of um, Battlefield from Bethesda Church battles because it was such a significant battle. But at the same time, if they take control, if they step in and buy it, which right now they can't because I hold lease on it, so it can't be sold out from under me. And that's what I'm trying to prevent is a developer stepping in and doing it. So that's a matter of what the hell is going to happen with it, and we'll have to find out. But hopefully this fundraiser works. Maybe there's an angel investor somewhere that goes, you know what? I want to save some battlefield, man. Here you go.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Maybe tonight was the right time to talk about this. And, I'm hopefully I can, be that angel for you guys and just who knows? Maybe I can just I mean I have so many people on my page, so we'll see what happens. I'll see what I can do.
You never
Well, we
know.
appreciate it.
Hey, no, I got you guys covered. So this is why I do. I enjoy helping anybody in the paranormal community, no matter who they are, and this is what this page is here for. So
Yeah. Like I said, I only set the goal on it to be like I've got the goal on the GoFundMe at 100,000.
wow,
The minimum that it's going to take me is 25, or no, I'm sorry, 45,000 to get the 10% deposit that the banks are asking for. So I
right.
don't have a whole lot of option in this. It's just a matter of what it is. It is what it is, and we'll figure something out. Worst case
Absolutely.
scenario, have to walk away.
I'll see what I have underneath my sleeves for you guys. So I really want to, help you guys. So I want to thank you guys for coming on here tonight. Thank you for coming on to the grand opening and being patient with everything. And I'm really happy I got to, share you guys stories about, the experiences with the paranormal and how you got into the paranormal and the Cabin 360 on top of it. And I wish we could go all night. I mean, I would, but Ryan looks like he's getting tired, and so I don't want to keep him.
Little tired. It took RJ to King's Dominion today, so I'm a little worn
They
out.
are
But,
open
I'm always.
Are they open during the week now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm always open to talk about the cabin. This leads us to part 2 of the cabin because we have a lot more stories to talk about. So we can do a whole other show.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely do a part 2 of the Cabin 360. And what I would like to do, maybe one time down the road, we can do a live investigation. We could put it right on the show for you guys as well and have people watch it. So we can do that too. So we can do so much. So we have a lot to look forward to, and I'm really excited. And thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for coming on here. I know it's in the middle of the week, but I really do appreciate it in the bottom of my heart. And I can't wait to have you guys on. And thank you for the support. So it was a pleasure having you guys on here tonight.
Hey, it was fun. I appreciate you inviting us and letting us share some stories.
Oh, you're more welcome to come on here anytime you guys want. This is a place to talk about the dead that follow. That's why it's called that. So anytime you guys want to come on and bring whoever else wants to come on with you, they're more than welcome as well.
Sounds good. Anytime you have a cancellation, I'll be happy to set in even short notice.
You're more welcome. This is your home now. So I'll give you a heads up anytime you like. So if you want to talk about one day, just come on here and talk about the fundraiser, or you need something to talk about, something important about the 360 and advertise it, you're more welcome. Just hit me up.
Sounds good, dear. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So did you guys want to hang out in the back room for 2 minutes, or did you guys need to go, or so I'll have you guys hang out in the back room. I'm just gonna tell everybody sayonara, and I'll see you guys in a little bit.
All right.
Hang tight. Well, there you have it, everybody. That was the grand opening of the show tonight. Whew! I made it. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the show. I know I did. So tune in on every Wednesday, 9 o'clock Eastern. It's always going to be on Wednesday nights. So if you have a ghost story to tell, if you want to come on here, feel free. If you want to show videos, if you want to show pictures, I am here to support everybody in the paranormal community. I love everybody in the paranormal community, and I'm here to help everyone, no matter who it is. Even if you hate me, I don't care. You're more welcome to still come on here. I will support you no matter what you have. And that's what I'm here for. That's what the show is about. You have a story to tell. You have an experience that you're too scared to tell, and you want to come on here and share it. You found the right place. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Thank you for all the comments. I really do appreciate it with all my heart. You guys have made the show, and thank you for supporting. I will post all the links about his fundraiser, about the Cabinet 360, and everything they have going on. Please help them. This place is amazing. I have been there. It is definitely worth to go investigate. It's got a lot of land and a lot of energy and history, as you know, all heard tonight. Go out there, go support them, go get it while you can. So let's save this place. It's definitely worth the paranormal investigating. So with that said, thank you all for tuning in. Have a good night. And lots of love to all. And if you want to be a guest on my next show, please message me and I will hook you up. All have a good night. Thank you.